Welcome to Business Spotlight Series. I'm Paul McCarthy, and today I'm joined by Andy Dickens from Virtual Sales. Andy, it's great to have you with us today. Could you start by telling us about what you and your business do, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, Paul, for having me on the show, and look forward to sharing my thoughts and experience to your listeners. So, in terms of what I do, so I started Virtual Sales Limited nearly 22 years ago, um, really on the back of working for technology vendors like Visio that got bought by Microsoft, and then Red Hat, which was a major Linux company. Um, so both companies there, I was sales director, early doors in, employee number two in Europe, no revenue, no employees, nothing. And in both situations, I was able to build not only the revenue, but the sales team up. So Visio bought for 1.3 billion by Microsoft. I got early door shares, but not life changing enough. Still had to work for a living, and did the same with Red Hat. And then in 2001, I'm not sure whether you remember that far back, but the dot-com bubble burst,
Yeah.
and a lot of high tech companies had to shrink their workforce significantly. And obviously, sales director as Europe, I was a high earner at the company, so I got the opportunity to take voluntary redundancy and walk away with a wedge in my pocket, and I started virtual sales. So I've been thinking about starting my own company for a while. And the catalyst that really was, whilst at Visio and Red Hat, we were using traditional call center companies to do our lead generation and appointment setting. And what we found was that the callers were typically 18 to 25-year-old graduates, no business line experience. They were all in the big room in a huddle. There was no collaboration, no feedback, waste of time, waste of money. So I thought there's got to be a better way of doing it. So I almost reverse engineered what we were doing and started virtual sales. And the premise of the company is the same as it was all those years ago. So we provide very experienced, very mature callers, average age 40 and above. So the great thing is they represent the brand for our small clients. So you imagine a company that perhaps has a young person on the phone reading from a script, the impression that gives out to your prospect, and that bad feeling, he could tell 10, 20 people about that bad experience. So, you can really screw up your brand before you got started. So the key to our success is having these very mature, very experienced callers that represent our client's brand first and foremost. And also they act in word and deed as if they're their internal sales. So we offer a dedicated caller to each campaign for our clients. So that caller really gets to understand the value proposition for our clients. We can source and supply data from a data provider called Cognizant. So they provide great data in the UK. So you can select your target customers by geographic location, right down to postcode, by vertical market, by size of company in terms of turnover and number of employees, and different job persona. And then the way that we on board with a client is we get them to fill out what we call a campaign briefing document that covers who they are, what they do, how they do it, and what the pain points are for their target audience. And then we have a pre-campaign call, understand all that, agree the data set, load up in our cloud-based CRM, and then we start calling. And then we give them good market intelligence feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. And obviously our role is to build and nurture a sales pipeline for our clients. So many small companies and entrepreneurs that might be listening to this perhaps don't have a sales force. Maybe they're trying to do everything themselves. Well, obviously what we can do is take that weight off their shoulders and do what I call the grunt work, which is getting on the phone and building and nurture a sales pipeline and giving them qualified opportunities that they can then close the sale. We found over the years that's really motivated a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses that we work with.
Is there any particular market sectors or size of companies that you work with?
Not really. Over the years, we've worked in all shapes and sizes. We've even worked with Microsoft at the beginning. You can't get any bigger than that. Yeah. But these days, our sweet spot is helping small to medium companies. So, it's really 1 to 20 employees, I would think, is our real sweet spot. These are the guys that don't really have the bandwidth and the capability or the desire to do what we do, and that's to build and nurture a sales pipeline. We've got a lot of experience in the IT sector, so technology, software, digital marketing, but equally we've done campaigns into legal, manufacturing, financial services. So there's probably not a sector, private or public, that we've not touched. And with us, it's all about making sure that we understand the value proposition for our clients, but also get the right data set of the clients that they want to target. So I would suggest that data is the beginning of a successful campaign. The better the data, the better the results of the campaign you're going to get.
Okay. And what are the sort of challenges that you can overcome for that sort of smaller company that might be looking to do this themselves?
Yeah. I mean, of course, they can recruit internally, or they can outsource. And we've got a great article on one of our blogs on the website, the benefits of insourcing versus outsourcing. The benefits of working in an outsourcing company is really that you can turn it on, turn it off. Whereas if you employ somebody, it might take you 3 months to find out that you've got a bad onion. And then during that time, you've got to train that caller, you've got to manage that caller, you've got to motivate him. And a lot of founders and entrepreneurs don't simply have the time or the bandwidth or the inclination or the skill set to train and motivate a growing sales team. Whereas with virtual sales, we can allocate as many callers as the campaign as a client wants. So we're totally scalable. We manage the campaign and the callers. So each campaign is allocated an account manager. And the role of the account manager is to manage the campaign and the caller. So that's to organize regular calls with the client, regular updates, send a weekly report with all the data back and also all the core metrics. So we're really taking the burden off a small company's shoulders in terms of managing that campaign, and that's the key differential. And the other thing is that we introduced after COVID a range of monthly subscription packages. So now it's very easy for a client to onboard with virtual sales. So you can start small and then you can grow unlimited. And the great thing is there's no long-term contract. The minimum term is a month. So our clients really like that. And what we've seen so far is introduced that 18 months ago. The retention rate's been very high in terms of people sticking on the subscription.
That's fantastic, because sometimes for a smaller business to take that plunge to do this themselves is
Well,
really
exactly. And previous to that, for the previous 20 years, we were charging, it would be a 10K investment over 3 months for a client, and so a lot of the smaller companies couldn't afford to do that. So now, having done that, that's opened the floodgates to a lot smaller companies. In fact, it was one of our clients said to me, he said, Andy, I can't understand why you've never sold your services on the subscription basis. So, and I thought that, was meant for software as a service companies. He said, no, you've got a caller, you've got data, and you've got reporting, and you've got account management of the campaign. So put all those elements together in a bundle, and then you limit the number of hours. So we've got a professional, which is 35 hours a month for the very small companies. And then at the top end, we've got an enterprise option, which gives 140 hours. And those hours are spread over the month to give our clients the results that they want.
fantastic. Okay. And you touched on a few things, but what would you say is your secret sauce? What are you really good at that maybe your competitors aren't so good at?
I'm good at selling. So I've always been, I'm a born sales guy. So that's a tick in the box. I love closing business. So, and today I really enjoy getting on the phone, speaking to a prospect, closing the deal is probably the biggest thing that I enjoy out of sales. The other thing is I would say I'm a born leader. I like to motivate and incentivize our teams to do a good job for our clients.
Fantastic. And when you were looking at starting a business, or maybe during your sort of journey as such, has there been anybody in particular that's really inspired you?
Yeah, in fact, one of my old bosses. So I had a guy called Jim Horsburgh who recruited me firstly at Olivetti. So I'd been going down the sales route, and then I felt I needed some time in marketing. So I joined Olivetti when they were selling PCs and PC software back in the day. So I headed up the networking division within product marketing in Putney for Olivetti. So Jim recruited me there. Obviously, my experience was very much sales, but he could see that the appetite I'd got to learn from him on the other side of the fence. So I thought it was important to get a fully rounded experience by having, not taking a product or service to market and selling it, but also deciding what that product or service should be. So he recruited me at Olivetti. He then recruited me again at Central Point Software, which was a PC tools company, competed with Pete Norton, if you remember them.
Yeah.
And then again at Visio, which was the drawing and diagramming product. So we worked together at 3 companies. I've never met a man who's inspired me so much, motivated me, and allowed me to grow to the person I am today, not only professionally, but also personally. So I've got a lot of thanks for Jim.
Fantastic. And you said the business has been around for 22 years, so you've probably learned a lot in that time.
Yeah.
A lot of maybe trial and error, things like that. What do you think has been your number one biggest learning that you can pass on?
So I think the biggest learning that I would pass on to clients is you really need to keep a handle on cash flow. Cash flow is so important to a business because obviously when you're starting up, like we did, we've taken on no funding. So everything we've done has grown organically by me closing the business and developing the business as we go along. In the early days, it was a shared spreadsheet with my bookkeeper in terms of me entering every activity on the spreadsheet and passing between us. Now it's so much easier, and we use Xero as our accounting platform, which is very great. So I can share that with my bookkeeper and accountant. It's fully up to date, and there are great cash flow forecasting tools like Float. We use that, which works directly with Xero. It takes the information from that. So I would suggest that you really need to keep a handle on your cash flow, because without cash in your business, you'll burn and die. So you do need. That's one of the biggest lessons I learned from coming from a corporate life where you're fully gainfully employed and you get a monthly salary, to having to do everything yourself. It really instills on you what you need to do to to carry on your business, pay people at the end of the month. Very often, we have to pay our callers before we get paid. But so you've got to make sure you really understand the cash flow situation and work with your bookkeeper or accountant if you have one.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic advice. So anyone watching this, if you haven't got a cash flow, listen to Andy, get a cash flow forecast.
Absolutely.
So important.
And Float, give them a plug. So simple to operate. What I like, it sucks the data directly from Xero. So and you can plan ahead and you put scenarios in. What if I grow 25% next year? What's the impact going to be on my cash flow? Just a great solution.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There are loads of tools, loads of resources.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not sure how to do it, there's loads of people doing a YouTube video, whatever.
Absolutely.
The resources are out there.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. So businesses over the last few years, it's been, we could say, a challenging environment, what with Brexit, the pandemic, the economy, things like that. For a lot of businesses, there's been challenges. For some, there's been opportunities. So I did an interview last week with business that it was a good opportunity for them. Pandemic, it actually made their business grow. Has there been any significant changes that you've made over this period?
Well, obviously, we've had a fully remote workforce from day one. So we didn't have to scrabble around to, get PCs working from home. They're all home-based callers in the UK. Like many businesses, when Boris made that speech and told people that to go home, and we fully expected that business would literally fall off a cliff. In fact, it went the opposite way.
Right.
So we found ourselves thinking it was going to go that way, went that way. And I think one of the reasons for that is that with COVID, a lot of companies took the opportunity to get rid of staff, rightly or wrongly, either on furlough or just get rid of them totally. But clearly, businesses need sales to survive, don't they? So what that then evoked was a lot of activity. People finding us on the website, on LinkedIn, and other platforms to discuss how we could help them. Maybe just in the interim till the COVID was out, or on an ongoing basis. But we had a lot more conversations with companies in terms of what they were looking for, and our business grew over the 2-year period for COVID. So again, I think times of recession, times of COVID, they are good for companies like Virtual Sales because we offer a service where a client's not tied in.
Yeah.
Small companies today don't want to be tied in for 3, 6, 12-month contracts. They like the flexibility of having this monthly activity. And I would say that's been one of the single biggest things that we've done over the last 22 years in terms of having an impact and reaching out to much smaller companies.
So it was an opportunity for you, that whole
Absolutely.
period. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, opportunity. And then we took that opportunity and then launched the subscription service, still within COVID times.
Right, brilliant. And looking forward, so looking into your crystal ball, over the next 5 years, what sort of challenges do you foresee for businesses, but also for your own business in particular?
So I think obviously we've got a lot of challenges at the moment, haven't we? But the economy, you've also seen that a lot of the medium tech companies have shed a lot of people from the workforce. That's going to have a major impact, not only on people. I read a lot of articles on the web, and you see that Microsoft getting rid of 10,000 staff, and the heartache of these people. I'm reading stories of people in the States where they're going to have to go back to their home country because they can't get a visa now. So it really does impact people's lives, and we've certainly seen a bit of softening in the first 3 months of this year, or first couple of months, I should say, in terms of people still want to do something, but they're delaying that decision-making process.
Right.
So we've got a very, very strong pipeline of companies that said, yeah, we want to do it. But we've seen, rather than them doing it straight away, it's next month, the month after. So I think there's going to be delays in decision-making. Probably people are very mindful of, not spending too much money. It goes back to cash flow, I guess, isn't it? Companies want to preserve the cash flow to preserve their businesses. So I definitely think the economic crisis that we're in the UK is having an impact and will continue to have an impact. COVID's still there, of course, in the background with people still getting off sick, etc. But I think the major impact is going to be the economic crisis and how we overcome that. In terms of what do I see for the future? I think more of the same, really. I think we're going to be expanding the number of subscription offerings that we have. So currently have 3. I think we might have more of that, which will give our customers more choice. And the great thing is they can start on one and jump to another one very easily, or they can have 2 of the professional and 1 of the enterprise. So that gives us a lot of credibility in the marketplace. I think the other thing from a personal point of view that I'm doing is I'm doing more podcasts. So I've done, over the last couple of months, done a dozen or so podcasts where I'm hoping to help small companies with the benefit of my experience. So, from listening to this, hopefully some of your readers can pick up a couple of nuggets that we've said during the conversation there. That might help them think about their business, how they generate sales moving forward, how they look after business in terms of cash flow, etc.
Fantastic. If you could do it all again, is there anything you would have done differently?
It's interesting, that one. I was thinking about that. My younger self, as it were. My son Josh is so he he was an aspiring footballer, and he had trials at Brighton, Chelsea, etc. And he got a scholarship at Aldershot Football Club when they were in the Football League. So he spent 2 years there, and then went to Chile and South America, joined a Chilean football team there
Wow.
for a couple of years. Couldn't speak a word of English, and came back fluent Spanish, but that didn't work out. And then so during the time at Aldershot, he got the equivalent of A level, so made sure that he was a bright lad. So he got distinction, his education, etc. And then he used that to get into Loughborough University. Why? Because they were good at football, and also a great place to study. So he studied there, played football. I went to see him play against Man United
Wow.
at Loughborough, which is a great experience. So he marked Marcus Rashford, who plays for Manchester United, did him all over the papers. So that's his claim to fame. And then he graduated and came out, did a couple of jobs, but he was never fully committed to the various jobs that he'd done, both well paid graduate schemes, etc. But he's always had an interest in music, and so during the regular dad to son chats, I encouraged him to follow his dream. So he's now given up his full-time job, and he's a house DJ. So
Okay.
he's started that last March, and he's now traveling the world, doing gigs mainly in the States, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Middle East, UK. So that's someone who didn't, he could have stayed at doing a 9 to 5 job, but a bit like me, taking that quantum leap from doing something that he didn't really enjoy to something he had a real interest in. And now, I was looking at his Instagram pictures last night of a gig he was in LA. There must have been 5 to 10,000 people there. Josh on the stage with his great big logo in the background, having the best time of his life. And he said basically, yeah, I'm getting paid for something I enjoy.
Yeah.
So I would suggest to people that if you really feel you want to do something, go for it.
Okay. And for yourself, putting yourself back as that 18-year-old,
Yeah.
what would you personally have done differently? What would you tell yourself now?
So I think it's still useful to have the groundwork of working for other companies and getting paid for it while your career presses. But I think I probably would have told myself to start my own business earlier. So maybe I should have been running it for 30 years rather than 22 years.
Right.
Um, you know, I love working for myself. The buck stops with me, decision making stops with me. Um, you know, we've tried lots of things in the past, marketing things that haven't worked. We've tried things that work. So and that's the other thing is, don't be frightened of trying something and making a mistake, but just learn from it and then try something else.
Fantastic. Great advice. Brilliant advice. Just lastly, are there any sort of projects in particular? Obviously, you mentioned the podcast you're doing,
Yeah.
and the packages you're offering. Is there anything else you want to particularly sort of talk about at the end? Something you're working on at the moment?
So one of the other things that we're actively working on is working with marketing agencies, so digital marketing agencies. We've recognised that generally they don't have the skill sets to do what we do, which is obviously calling out and building and nurture a sales pipe. So a lot of digital marketing companies, they develop marketing qualified leads and then they pass those over to their clients. And of course, what typically happens is the client sits on those leads, they never follow them up, and then they say, "Oh, we're not getting a return from investment." So we've identified a missing link there. So we started to work with a number of digital marketing agencies who are white labeling our service. So the great thing for this, they keep control of the client. They earn money on the services that we offer, and it helps them to retain their client base. So that's something that we're going to be investing more on over the coming couple of years.
Brilliant. And how can people get hold of you? What's the best way to find out more about what
so the best way of reaching out to us is on our website, which is www.virtual b2b-sales.com.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for your time today, Andy. It's been really enlightening. It's been a real pleasure
Loved it.
to talk to you.
Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
I also wish you all the very best for the future. It doesn't sort of look like it looks like it's in safe hands. So
let's hope so. Who knows?
Plenty of experience and plenty of exciting things happening, which is great. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And all the best in the future. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.